live. And without that being said, it ain't Tuesday, motherfuckers. We're here to talk about some fights. We're here to talk about UFC 257. Conor McGregor is making his return to face Dustin the Diamond Poirier, and we're getting to see the debut of Michael Chandler under them UFC lights, and we're going to see, can he do his thing outside of a Bellator cage? Well, as always, I'm back here with Corey, and yes, I didn't mention my name either as a great host, but I'm Kyle. Welcome back to Knockouts and Three Counts. Corey, how the fuck you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Can't wait to see what these weigh-ins look like. I know, were you guys able to watch the press conference they did today?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see kind of the looks on everybody's faces going into the day before weigh-ins and everything, seeing how everybody's holding up and stuff like that. It was a real interesting look. I'm very curious to see what actual weigh-in day face-offs look like tomorrow.
Well, Hyden is back with us once again. If you checked out this past Tuesday's show, which was live at 9 p.m. as it always is here on our Facebook, you would know that. But Hyden, how you doing, brother man?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on. And like Corey said, I can't wait to discuss these fights and wait for the big fights on Saturday and see what goes down in this lightweight tournament going on here. So I can't wait for it. Let's go.
All right. Well, Corey, you got the
prelims
right up and stuff, right?
Well, hold on. He made a perfectly good point because I want to jump right into it. You seen the press conference just like I did. Kyle, Were you able to see it? You were over there buried in your phone. Well, you missed out. Well, one of the reporters on site actually asked all of the fighters at the desk, all four of the lightweight fighters, if they were kind of in on this being a lightweight tournament, essentially.
Yeah.
Even though it's an unofficial tournament, it kind of seems like that's the way it's going now. Yeah. Everybody at the desk agreed. I love it, man. I hope that is really the direction they take this thing. I hope it kind of ends up with a championship at the end of it all. I want to see it all play out before there's an actual belt at hand, because that way we can kind of see who's the head of the division, I guess you could say. It's an awesome pay-per-view, man. It's got me excited as hell. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, like I said, now that this is going to be our UFC 257 pre-show, and all of you guys that are there in the live stream, let us know who it is you've got for each of these fights. We want interaction with you guys. So since we've got the time, I say we start from the top. I'm not going to go through the early prelims, but Corey, what do we got first on the docket as of right now for the prelims for UFC 257?
Well, all right, so I know you're saying you don't want to talk about these early prelims, but I feel like the early prelims have just as many bangers as the prelims themselves. So we're going to jump into the early prelims real quick. We got Nick Lentz versus Mozar Elav. I'm terrible with Russian last name. I'm terrible with all ethnic last names, to be honest. But
you're just terrible with last names, but
he's an undefeated fighter who's looked incredibly impressive in the UFC, and most of you fellow hardcores know Nick Lentz. He's yet again a UFC vet that's been out there and shown his worth quite a few times. I think that's going to be an incredible fight. Just to kind of touch on it real quick, I think that's definitely something worth watching. I don't know if you guys have any points on that one or not, but that's going to be a fun one for sure.
Nick Lentz has been an OG of the game for a while now at this point. I mean, he's been around for quite a long time. It's good to see him here in the UFC. Obviously on an early prelim, but again, when we're on a card like a Conor McGregor versus a Dustin Poirier, I mean, everybody can't be on the main card. So I got no problem with it. It brings a little bit of star power to it. We're going to see what Nick Lentz does under these bright lights in Abu Dhabi.
Right.
Yep. Completely agree. And like I said, going against a young, very much up and coming, undefeated fighter, it's a very interesting matchup. And he was a short notice fighter for replacement, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, I believe that fight with Nick Lentz was. I forgot who the original opponent was, but I do know that he took it on short notice, I think. So yeah, definitely short notice fight. So it should be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Yet again, early prelims, just real quick though, Andrew Sanchez has looked incredible in his last couple fights. I don't know, the mullet power has gotten
what up though, Gino?
And Mukhmadid Muradov, yet again, incredible in the UFC. I've seen him do some good solid performances. Nothing off the top of my head that I can necessarily name, but I do remember the name. And with somebody like a name like that, if I remember it, it's usually a good sign. Yet again, another fight to watch out for, though. And then to jump into the actual prelims here, the stuff that you guys might know a little more about. Making his way back from, I think, his second short stint retirement, Khalil Roundtree, a real up and down, solid fighter, but he it seems like he comes back, he shows incredible skill improvements, and then has like 2 or 3 fights, and on his second or his third one, all that goes back out the window, and he ends up taking another short retirement to try to improve his skills again.
What up, Gino? We see you in the comments, man. We need you to stay tuned so we can get your picks on these fights, my guy.
And he's taking on somebody I'm surprisingly not familiar with, because I feel like I know everybody in the damn UFC at this point. But Marcin Parchino. So with that being said, I'm going to obviously lean towards Khalil Roundtree, but it's going to be very curious to see what version of him we see. This is him coming back from the short retirement. So if we see the absolute killer that I'm expecting that we've seen in the past, it'll be very interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Khalil Roundtree, man, anybody that doesn't know, I mean, he had a great stint when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, come off The Ultimate Fighter. He's had some great performances. But again, like Corey said, I mean, he's one of those guys. He's had the highest of highs with nasty knockouts, but then he's also been on the receiving end of some nasty finishes and things.
Yeah, his last few fights have been great, though. His fight with Eric Anders was just filthy, the way that he just beat Eric Anders, and then he lost to Ian Cutelaba, who's not a bum by any means. So, hopefully he comes out with a win here. And I believe this is his last fight. I think, I'm not sure if that's considered a retirement fight, but
I heard rumors of that myself, but I feel like
so
he's a little young to be retiring, isn't he?
Well, like I said, this is his second return fight, and I also heard what you were saying too out there in the airwaves a little bit. I can't give credit where credit's due, but I did hear it in the ether. It made its way into my brain somehow. But yeah, I heard the same thing.
Yeah, he was
30, looking for this to be his last fight, but I feel like with somebody like him who's already kind of I'm done, and then also comes right back.
Yeah.
We'll see.
He's 30, Kyle. So I mean, yeah, he's still young in the game. So I say this is retirement from what I heard. If you want to come out with the win in Abu Dhabi and head back home on a win, I mean, I can't really hate on that, right? As a retirement and get a nice little paycheck and head out there with a W.
No, absolutely. Can't argue with that. Another fun fight with some real implications in the women's bantamweight division. Juliana Pena, Sarah McMahon. Both of them, I feel like, kind of fly under the radar a little bit in the women's division. I feel
especially Sarah McMahon. Okay.
Yeah.
Sarah McMahon is somebody, for those of you who don't know, she's really been around the game for a very long time and is truly at this point, again, I know I'm using the term OG a lot with what we're talking about with some of these fights here, but Sarah McMahon has been around, the women's MMA game for a long time. I just think a lot of times that she gets overpassed when fans talk about who are your favorite fighters for female fighters, because maybe she's not the swimsuit model type looking chick and she hasn't had like the biggest, bloodiest brawls maybe as some other fighters. I think
she's just not super active either. Not to interrupt you, but she's just not super active, and I feel like that's a point that needs to be made too. Is she's just not super active. I believe if I'm not mistaken, but I believe it's the common women fighter phase, which nothing against it, but I believe she took some time off and had a kid, if I'm not mistaken. And
Juliana Pena did. So Sarah did too. I think they both Juliana Pena recently came back and lost, but Sarah, I don't know how long ago, but she was recent too, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah.
That's going to be an interesting fight. I mean, I don't really have a dead set pick on that one. I think both are coming off of, like you said, they're both coming off a layoff. Definitely a fight that I'm looking is going to be one to look out for on the prelims.
Yeah. Pena's last loss, I know that she fought Jermaine Durandamy, which I didn't see a submission coming whatsoever. So I was pretty much surprised about that one. But Jermaine Durandamy is no slouch either. So that's a tough fight to come back from after trying to have a baby. I think was like, I don't know if I like that one forward, but
Gino says that's a sloppy fight.
It very well could be.
It could
because,
be.
all right, so one of them's kind of a slightly sloppy grappler, and one of them's more of a not sloppy wrestler, but a top control game that doesn't necessarily always end up with her controlling the top. So it could be a sloppy fight. Honestly, I mean, he's not necessarily wrong. I mean, to be honest, if it depends on your outlook on it. It could be in your eyes, in someone else's eyes, a very clean fight because you could just see the switches in position, the reversals and stuff like that, and you could be like, wow, so and so is doing incredible. But you could also look at it like so and so is losing position over and over. So I could definitely agree with that.
All right, Corey, what else we got?
to
What else
into
we
the-
got on the prelims that we're looking into before we jump into this main card?
We've been running through them real quick, so I might as well jump through them quick. But this one's definitely another one I'm very interested in. Antonio Carlos Jr. Anybody who's not familiar, other than the fact he's just named after a restaurant, he's a very good submission artist, man. He's submitted a lot of top guys in the UFC. He's making his way into the rankings now, if I'm not mistaken. And he's taken on Brad Tavares,
Brad Tavares is a dog, dude.
Another OG
he's an
that kind of likes to
absolutely
say.
skilled fighter who has had no favors from the UFC whatsoever in his last 6 matchups or something.
He's been in tough his whole career.
He
in
has,
UFC,
yeah.
Man. I mean, if off the top of my mind, his last 4 or 5 fights was Robert Whitaker, Israel Adesanya, Edmund Shabazian, and there's another one in there that I can't.
He
think
fought
of,
Yoel, a couple years back too. So I mean, it's been murder's row for him. But I think I see one of those fights being fight of the night, or at least performance of the night. I don't, to me, I don't see that fight probably going to decision. I think it's going to be fight of the night. At least one of them probably. I'd say there's going to be a handful of bonuses Dana's going to have to give out because I don't think it's just going to go to one.
Well, there's so many names spread out in the UFC. The way that you earn your name is you go out there and put on performances. So, I mean, like you said, there's going to be performance bonuses spread about for sure.
He's going to be throwing out the money like crazy. I'm pretty sure.
My man Gino coming through again.
For these fighters, he's throwing out the money because from what I keep hearing, he's being a little stingy with the money. But
man, it's a good thing one of us is looking at the comments over here because Gino's over here commenting away, talking about
what you got to say.
Well, you got to be looking at the comments, guy. Come on now. You got
I'm looking at it.
Hey,
Gino's talking about the Brad Tavares thing, saying that he's been a fan of Mr. Tavares' work since his time on The Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
It's a good season.
And apparently, Corey is trying to get his best Hulk Hogan pose going on right now. What do we got left on these prelims, Corey? What are we looking at for the main event for the prelims? Is Tavares the main event for the prelims?
Surprisingly not. They're trying to push 2 younger guys who I'm familiar with both, more so with one than the other. But the one that I'm familiar with, God, this name is so hard to say, and I'm actually a fan of the guy. He's a younger guy.
He looks like Calvin Gastelum.
Yeah, he looks exactly like Calvin Gastelum.
He literally looks like a brother.
Nasrat Hakparast. I had to close my eyes and just let it flow, but I think I got it.
He's German.
And then he's taken on Arman Tarsukian. Are you guys just making me do this so you can hear the comment?
Sarukayan, that's what we're going to go with.
Both
Arman
take it.
Sarukayan, that's what we're going with.
Nazarat.
Whoever's name takes longer to pronounce is going to win the fight. That's how we're picking this one. Whoever's name takes longer to win the fight is the one that's going to win the fight.
Pretty much.
Both of these guys, though, are really high-skilled guys. Nasrat, I know he trains out of in Montreal with GSP at
that's your boy.
Why am I forgetting the damn name of the team at the moment?
TriStar, dummy.
TriStar.
I named off everything else. I just couldn't think of the damn name of the team. But he's training up there in TriStar. He's got Firas Zahabi over there cornering him overseas right now in Abu Dhabi. It's Arman Tarsukian. Yes, like I said in the beginning, I'm not quite as familiar with him. I do remember seeing one or two of his fights, but I can't put names to it. But I was really impressed with Nazaret Haqparast in a couple of his performances, and then in one of them he was just kind of caught sleeping and got put to sleep because of it. So I'm really curious to see what version of him we see on the night, and it should be a really good fight to kind of welcome us to the pay-per-view. That's for sure.
All right. So as we get to the pay-per-view, the first fight as it appears on this card, if they go in the order that is in front of my face, it says it's going to be Amanda Hebass versus Marina Rodriguez.
The new fan favorite, Amanda Hebass.
I was going to say, Hebass has had quite the fanfare here and has been really kind of just made a whole lot of noise with her last performance. Fellas, I'll let each of you kind of go first on this one. What were your thoughts on Hebass's last performance, Hyden, and who do you got in this fight?
Yeah, Amanda Hebass is definitely a fan of mine for sure. I do have Amanda winning this fight, but going back to her last fight with Paige, I mean, it's highly impressive. She took her down, pretty easily and got the submission. I think it was an armbar, if I'm not mistaken, I think first round.
Yep.
So, I mean, she's great for the weight class.
Quick into the first round.
Yeah, quick into the first round. And Paige fans, I mean, I know that she doesn't, she's not going to be a championship contender or anything of that sort, but I mean, she's no slouch either. She's a tough, she's a tough fighter. So to do that against somebody like her is not an easy task. So, I mean, that was highly impressive, on Fight Island. So I have her winning the same way, probably not as quick, but I do have her winning, I would say, first round submission. I'd say somewhere around the rear naked, about 2-3 minutes into the first round. Seeing Marina Rodriguez last fight, and I do remember it completely against Carla Esparza. I mean, she got taken down at will. Granted, Carla is, predominant wrestler, but, I think Amanda's going to take advantage of that, take her down at some point and finish her there with a submission.
And to point on that, because that was exactly what I was going to point to, too, is her last fight, is I really hope she worked on her takedown defense, because I'm actually a big fan of Rodriguez as well. And I feel like she's kind of, I mean, of course, she's on the main card of a Conor card, even if it is kind of the B-side to Amanda Hebass. But I'm actually a big fan of hers. She shows some real clean boxing and stuff to work her way into a Carla Esparza fight. She's really pieced a couple girls up on the way up. That being said, though, I absolutely agree with you. I think Amanda's going to kind of try to go in there and show out, especially the fact that she's opening the pay-per-view. That's a very big spot.
She did last time too. So, I mean, she's been there before.
Well,
I think opened up the last fight too.
I think off of her last fight, they're trying to, give her the spotlight. Chris, what up, though? I see you in the feed. We're talking about the opening fight of UFC 257, Amanda Hebass versus Marina Rodriguez. Who are you rolling with, brother, man? But like you were saying, man, I think they're putting her at the beginning of this card because they want to start it off with a bang. They had the big fanfare for her on this one. So Hyden, we've heard your pick. Corey, who are you rolling with on this one?
Like I said, I agreed. Amanda Hebass, I think she's going to kind of control the fight a little bit if she's able to take her down to the ground. But like I said, Marina Rodriguez has had a decent amount of time between her last couple fights, or her last fight, should I say. And like you said, she got dominated more. So I don't know if that's Carla Esparza just doing the thing.
Carla Esparza is the former champ now. Let's not act like
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying I don't know if it was her performance or Rodriguez's lack of takedown defense. And I'm really curious to see how much she improved on her takedown defense. And I think that will be the difference in this fight, because if she is able to stand with Amanda, it becomes a lot more of an interesting fight. She's really clean with the boxing and she has really good hands. So I'm really interested to see the fight, but I agree, Amanda Hebass.
Yeah, for me, this one I'm going Amanda Hebass. I think they're putting Marina Rodriguez in here as a tough opponent for Hebass, but I think ultimately, we talk about a lot in these fights that there's an A side and a B side to these fights, and I think Hebass is the one that they're clearly trying to push here. We're gonna see how she does. Again, all of you guys that are in the live feed, if you guys have got any thoughts, opinions, concerns, or want to tell us we're a bunch of dumbasses, let us know in the comments. The second fight that we've got on the night for UFC 257 is going to be Matt Frevola versus
Steamroller
Frevola
versus Otman Azayatar, or however in the hell, Azayatar,
but close enough.
Yeah, you almost had it. Yeah.
Look here, I try to do my best to do my journalistic job to try to say these not like a dumbass, but that's who we've got in this fight. I don't know, man. I've been a big fan of what we've seen from Matt Frevola on, in his past fights here. For me, I'll go first on this one. I think Frevola is going to get him a dub here, but he's got himself a hell of an opponent and a man who is 13-0 coming out of Morocco right now in Mr. Azamir. All right, let's see. Gino says he's got Marina in the first fight.
Okay.
Ooh, going against Miss Hebass. Okay, I see
money
you.
On these fights here, huh? All right.
I see you. Okay, he's got Hebass. Well, for me, like I said, I'm picking Frevola. I think he's got a little bit of momentum behind him right now. Like I said, this is going to be a tough fight. Obviously, they're giving him a guy like Azamir for a reason when he's 13-0. But for me, I'm going with Frevola on this one. Who do you guys got?
Corey, go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Well, all right. So I think this is going to be one of those fights that hopefully, because they're both on the pay-per-view, is going to get viewers for both of the guys, because I feel like Matt Frevola kind of has a small bit of a following, I guess you could say, just because a lot of people kind of relate with the nickname. That's why I felt like it was so important to kind of throw out there. But
he got a really boss nickname though.
It is, and it just rolls right off the tongue with the name. It works. It works. But Otman Azatar, incredible performance in his last fight, dude. He absolutely slept Kamaru Worthy. He put him to sleep quick, man. And I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily remember that fight because of the fact it was quick. A person with a foreign name, that kind of is harder for people to relate to. But that being said, man, he really looked incredibly impressive out there last time. And if he can replicate that performance at all against a shorter guy in Frevola, I think he's going to have some serious success. But I think that either way, whoever's the one that shows out in this performance, I really think is going to have a real opportunity to build their name being on the main card of the pay-per-view. I think that's a really good spot for this fight, honestly.
Yeah, 100%. I just actually rewatched some of the fights with these guys because I do remember the Kamaru Worthy fight, and I said, man, that was fast. I mean, he's got some power, and lightweight just keeps getting stacked every single day, so there's no shortage of talent there. But I'm going to go with Otman Azayatar here. I feel like it's going to be a quick finish for some reason by the way that these guys styles and the way that they fight. Frevola is a tough dude. I mean, he can take damage, but also he's been, rocked the last couple of fights, I think, that I've seen him. So I think Otman might put it away. I'm going to say I want to go first, but I think they're going to have a feel-out process. So I'm going to say second round TKO. Otman Azayatar is going to get the W and still undefeated.
No, I agree with you completely on that, because especially Frevola kind of welcomes in the fight too.
Yeah.
And I feel like somebody that's faster, bigger, and a little more powerful, I feel like in Zatar, it's going to be
I feel like he's got more cleaner stand-up and he's more technical. He's got the speed on him, excellent kickboxing, good boxing. I mean, he's got the power for a lightweight. He may not look like it, but he does carry power. So Frevola can too, but at the same time, I feel like Otman's just going to be a little bit more sharper in this fight. So should be a good scrap, though. I think another bonus fight here. It's going to be another bonus check going to be thrown around for these two guys here, I'm sure.
Where you at, Uncle Dana?
Yeah, where you at, Dana? Throw that money around.
All right, so we're getting towards the second half of the card, and make sure that you're not sleeping and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of the content here from your homies at Knockouts and Three Counts. And make sure you don't get caught staring like Joe Rogan did, or you might end up asleep in this next fight. We've got Jessica Evil Eye, maybe that's what he got caught staring at, versus Joanne Calderwood. I don't know. I like this fight. I think this is going to be a tough fight. I think both women have something to prove in this fight. Both of them need to get a dub here. I don't know. In this fight, something tells me, especially with the form that she was in, it pains me to say this, but I think Joanne Calderwood is going to be the one who comes back and makes a statement in this fight.
Yep.
I think if you watch, man, you watch it and you watch her run up until she took that loss. She didn't have to take that last fight. She was on a killer run. Having to lose that run and lose that momentum will only do so many things to a person. It'll make you hungry. So for me, Joanne Calderwood is going to be the one to do it. Gino says he's got Jessica I. Said he's not a fan of Calderwood. Why don't you like Calderwood, bro? You got
that's
a hot take right there.
Very, very, very hot take.
What did Calderwood do to you, man? Like we want to know in the comments, bro.
Yeah,
she's like the universally tatted sweetheart that everybody likes, and
she's like the nicest girl that you just don't want to mess with. I mean, what's a problem?
And she's got the nicest Scottish voice ever.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy? I would have never thought walking down the street.
What up, Joe Jordan? I see you in the feed. Like I said, let us know who you got.
But I completely. So it's a super interesting matchup, especially the fact that behind the scenes, for some odd reason, both of these girls don't necessarily like each other. It kind of adds another layer to this fight, I guess you could say.
Why do a lot of girls not like Jessica I, though?
I don't know what the deal is.
I think it's her like brashness. If you follow her on socials and stuff, she is like very brash. I personally respect her and what she does, but she's very like Cleveland.
But I mean, even with her being a little bit a little bit edgy, I've never caught her as somebody who's like a shit talker or something.
Well, like I said, she's just like, well, we're from the Midwest, Detroit right. Over here. There's a couple like, country girls that, or like city hard girls that like you could kind of see fit that same mold of Jessica I. And I feel like some people just get rubbed the wrong way by that, the brashness, like I said.
Yeah, I don't know the beef between them two. I don't really understand it. I mean, I've been hearing about it for the longest time, but I still haven't seen the full-on reason. But hey, what better way to squash the beef than a fight? That is not in the streets, but a sanctioned brawl, in the cage. So hopefully they can squash it and see what happens. I'm not sure why, but like you said, I think maybe it's Jessica's attitude. Maybe it's the way she comes off. Maybe I think they had a Twitter beef like a year ago or something like that. I do remember.
Them Twitter fingers.
Yeah, Twitter fingers. They had a Twitter beef. Something was said, and I guess Joanne took it the wrong way. I don't remember. I do know that I guess they're still lingering off of that. So something happened, but hopefully they can squash that.
All right. Well, with all this squashing, who do you get in squash on Saturday night is the question.
Either way, I think it's got huge implications.
How can it not?
It not to take away from old Evil Eye, but I don't see them giving her a title fight as quickly as they would Joanne, just because Joanne Calderwood stepped in her last fight. JoJo, I feel like if she
that's to be deserved. That's deserved though.
Well, that's what I'm saying, but I feel like if Evil Eye comes in and does the same type of performance, I think she's still going to have to get one or two more before they'll give her Valentina again. Where I feel like Calderwood's legitimately still one fight away, and especially with the win over a highly ranked Jessica I think that would be the win needed. It's a really interesting fight. It really honestly is, but I see JoJo's Muay Thai kind of eating her up. Honestly, I see Calderwood kind of eating her up because I don't see unless Jessica I does what Jennifer Maia was able to do and kind of implement a ground game on somebody who's like 75-80% striking game. that's kind of where I see the fight going, though. If it's able to stay on the feet, I definitely see it leaning towards Calderwood.
For sure.
I think Calderwood is overall I think overall Calderwood is the more seasoned of the two. In what you said with, her getting a title shot before Jessica, if she gets the win here, I completely agree with you in that too. I mean, how could she not? I mean, if you look at the resume of what Joanne Calderwood put in before she got to that title fight, she never had to take that last fight.
Right.
Before she was going to get her title shot. So I think if she comes back here and gets a resounding win over someone who, whether you like her, hate her, whatever, coming off of a loss, Jessica I has a name. So, I mean, for her to come in and get a dub, and if she does it convincingly, I mean, I could see her. I don't know that it's going to get her right back to a title shot, but it very well could put her right in the top of that. If we're talking about who I'm picking in this fight, again, I'm a guy. What can I say? I know what Joe Rogan was looking at, but if we're talking about fighting skills and things like that, and who I think is going to come out and get that dub this Saturday, it's got to be Joanne Calderwood. Plus, her man was showing love to the show out here. Shout out to them and the homies at Syndicate MMA. Any of y'all want to come rock with your boys at Knockouts and 3 Counts? Come bring it this way.
There you go.
All right. So I got Calderwood. You've got Calderwood. You have Calderwood as well, Hyden?
Yes, I do. You guys just kind of basically said everything I wanted to say. And looking at the rankings here, JoJo is at 7. I don't know if these rankings are completely accurate. And Jessica is at 6. So, they're both coming off of losses. But I think JoJo coming off that loss, and again, she didn't have to take it, but that's kind of the risk you take, and in order for you to prove yourself, I guess, for a title. Now, she didn't have to do it. I completely agree with it. So I think she'll come out, she'll make a statement, and I think she'll take a decision win. I don't know if she'll finish her, but I think she'll make a statement and get it. I don't know if it's dominant, but she'll get a decision win, I think, and hopefully get that next title shot. I don't know if it's going to be afterward. I mean, Valentina's beating everybody under the damn sun, so I don't know who else you want to give her. But, JoJo's going to be, whether it's Jessica Andrade, I heard is going to get a title shot, or JoJo can get back in there. You got to give some new challenger for Valentina. So it's definitely a huge fight for her. And I think she'll be in a unanimous decision win here.
All right. Well, we've worked our way to the co-main event of the evening. As Mr. Bruce Buffer would say, we have worked our way to the co-main event of the evening. You're talking about a guy, you talk about the body of work that both of those women have in the UFC. Well, now we're getting to a guy who has no body of work in the UFC, but he is in the co-main event. And if you know anything about MMA, you know exactly who I'm talking about. We've got the debut of Michael Chandler versus Dan Hooker, who had one of the best fucking fights I've seen in my life. Mr. Figueredo, I appreciate you in here, but I don't know Spaniel, sir. But Gino, I agree with you. Valentina is a different kind of monster, man. This fight is going to be a different kind of monster. It might be the kind of fight that steals the whole damn card. I mean, what do you guys think, gentlemen?
Corey, go ahead.
All right. I feel like I've led the dance with this, but man. Dan Hooker versus freaking Mike Chandler, dude. This is an incredible matchup. This is actually the one I feel like we have so many damn conversations circled around this kind of stuff, Kyle, but I don't know if you remember when it was official. That's who I was actually hoping they would match him up with. I said it right from the beginning that I thought it was the perfect style matchup to test if he was.
It's a banger of a matchup for sure.
It's beyond just a banger, right? Because I feel like Dan Hooker is the absolute anti-style to Michael Chandler. He's taller. He has great anti-wrestling. He's really good with feints. And when he does attack, he can really throw some combos with some devastating power. That being said, Michael Chandler there's a reason why he is known, and I feel like a lot of fighters coming from the other promotions aren't, is because he has definitely earned his name being
and he's fought, I mean, outside the UFC. I mean, if you're talking about building a resume for someone, I mean,
Henderson twice. I mean, he's
fought a who's who. I mean, outside the UFC, outside the UFC, there's really nobody else left for him to fight, which is why there really was no other move for him but to go to the UFC. Because I mean, really, what else was there really for him to do in Bellator other than fight the Pitbull brothers again?
Yep. Which honestly, we broke this down when Chandler was actually made his move, but I felt like would have been a dumb idea in both his camp and in Bellator's idea, because he becomes champ. He no longer becomes a free agent. He doesn't get to make his career move. Bellator, he's done beat everybody over there 2 times over now at this point. What a better time to move. He's still in his prime, still has some serious contending skills. I love the matchup though. To get back to the matchup, like I said, Dan Hooker is the complete anti-style that I feel like Chandler wanted to fight. He's somebody who's bigger, who's going to be an incredibly hard fight, who's really good with counters, really good with feints, really good with his footwork. Takedown defense is incredible. So if he does get clipped up a little bit, he's not just going to be able to shoot on him or something like that. I see this fight going as a banger through either towards the end of the second round or in the beginning of the third. I feel like Michael Chandler is going to get caught trying to shoot in on a takedown by one of Dan Hooker's incredible knees. That's what I think the fight's going to.
So you think it's going to be a knockout for Mr. Hooker?
I do, and I think it's going to be started by a knee shot, whether that be to the body or to the head while he's shooting a takedown. His knees are so long and lengthy, and he's able to get them in and get them out real quick. And for some crazy reason, he's able to hold his balance really well on one foot, which even while he's doing it. So that's kind of how I see the fight going. I see Chandler having some real moments early. I feel like Dan Hooker is hittable, but I feel like Hooker's just got that dog that just never lets him quit. I mean, you can look back in the fights that he has lost, the Poiriers and the Barbosas and stuff, and even in those fights, man, there was no taking him out of that. Yeah. And I don't know if Chandler can take him there. I don't think he can, honestly.
Well, and I mean, that's a good point, Justin, what you're saying, and the fact that his last fight was against Dustin Poirier, who's now the guy who's going to be going against Conor McGregor, and they had a fucking war. I mean, like I said, if you watched our year-end awards, which you can, if you check out that link there in the right-hand corner, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can check out our Knockouts and Three Counts 2020 year-end awards. And for me, that was the fight that was most memorable for me. That was a hell of a fight in 2020. See, I look at this a little different than you do, man. I think Michael Chandler is kind of getting slept on by some of the diehards of the UFC because I feel like not as many people know as much about him coming into the UFC. I think a lot of people are going to try to harp on the fact that he's already been fighting for a number of years outside the UFC, but against a guy like a Dan Hooker, a guy like Michael Chandler, I feel like will do well because he has the grit to be able to handle a Dan Hooker shot. But I feel like at the same time is technical enough that if he doesn't like where it's going and it gets into too much of a brawl, I think he can also take Dan Hooker down and be able to control the fight from there. I think Michael Chandler is going to get him a dub in this fight, but I think it's going to be via decision.
Okay. Interesting.
One thing too, even if he is able to get the Hangman down, he earned that nickname for a reason, man. He is real quick to cinch up chokes and grab joints. So,
we agree with you, but who are you rolling with, brother man?
I feel like the UFC is like, okay, you want to give us your top dog that you've had for 10 years? We're going to put him against the guy that is the hardest matchup for him. First fight. Here you go. Have fun. Here's a hooker, a Hangman Hooker.
Yeah, like I've been torn with this fight the last few days because I like both guys. So it's hard for me to really say who I like because I can see both of them winning in their own ways. And then, like you said, introducing yourself, not just from Bellator, but, guys like Eddie Alvarez, your first fight in lightweight with Donald Cerrone. Let's be honest here. You get killers straight from the jump. So I feel like I'm leaning more toward Hooker in a sense that because he's taller, because he's bigger, because he's longer, he can take shots. And like you said, he does have really good takedown defense. And coming from City Kickboxing, obviously they're not, Division I wrestlers or any kind of, mid-tier wrestlers. I mean, you got guys like Israel, you got guys like Volkanovski, Kai Kara France, and then Dan Hooker. I mean, these are the guys that have excellent takedown defense, So his fight with Ally Quinta, granted, Ally Quinta isn't the the most highest level of wrestlers in the UFC, but he definitely has a high pedigree of it, and he stuffed I think almost every takedown that he shot at. So I feel like I'm leaning more toward Hooker in this fight. I do want to see a finish, but I also selfishly want to see a 3-round war. So, and I love Chandler too, but I think as your first fight, I just don't see him implementing his game plan enough to where he can take him down, because he's not that simple. But however, if he does take him down, it could be a long 3 rounds if he continues that way. So I'm gonna go with Hooker. I think he'll go to decision. But I could see both guys winning, but I'm just leaning more toward Hooker, and that's no disrespect to Chandler, because I love the guy, but I just think his size, his reach, his length, and he's kind of awkward in his striking too a little bit. So I mean, he's not easy to solve. And has Chandler ever fought somebody as big as him? I can't really think, but we'll see how it goes. So I think it's going to be a great fight, but that's how I see it playing out.
All right, so our fans are chiming in over here. You got Gino in here again. It looks like you got 2 of us over here for Chandler, even though Corey, see, Gino, it's all right. One of us cares about what the fans think. Corey just wants to get his shit in. Fucking, like I said, man, it looks like we got 2 apiece here for Chandler and Mr. Hooker. Like I said, I don't know, man. It's definitely going to be a fight we gotta watch. I would like to see it in the 5-round variety. But at the same time, I'm looking forward to this fight. Jordan chiming in. Jordan says, uh-oh, the brother-in-law is tipping the scales. Fuck y'all. It's 3-2 for Mr. Chandler. Jordan says Chandler by decision. I like Chandler. I like Chandler on the ground in this fight.
Okay. See, what I wanted to note is I feel like Chandler has done an amazing job since he's made that jump. I always kind of viewed him as like one of the bad boys, like the bad guy era, like type deal with of Bellator, I guess you could say. Doing all the podcasts and interviews and everything he's done since coming to the UFC, I've gotten to see a totally different side of Chandler. I really do honestly respect the guy. I hope to not see him go down in a blaze of glory in his opening, but like I said, I see a heart.
Man, you writing this man out the pasture already, huh?
No, because I think either way, if you win or lose, I think they give him an incredible matchup following. I think he's still an incredible fighter that's going to do well in the UFC, win or loss in this fight.
Well, something to be noted too is you got to give credit to his management, because I don't know if you guys in the comments have paid attention to the lead up to who they were talking about, who he was going to fight. And I just get the overwhelming sense that Chandler came in here and told the UFC, like, yeah, I want to make the jump, but I'm not coming over there unless you're going to give me top tier competition, or I'm not.
Absolutely.
Which, and that's another thing. I feel like a lot of people are acting like Michael Chandler jumped the line, but I think that's because not as many people are aware of his pedigree. Now, do I think he should immediately be right in there for a title shot? No, but I don't have any problem with him immediately being in the conversation for a number 1 contender spot. Because if we're talking about overall skills and we're talking about overall resumes, if you say that he's not on the same level as those guys, to me, you're not watching the same fights. Because, I mean, if we're talking about skill level, this guy's been on the elite level at lightweight for quite a long time.
At least a decade, at least. So
right. And as Corey mentioned, I mean, outside the UFC, he's fought pretty much everywhere one there is to fight. Well, without any further ado, we're here to the main event. The reason why all of you motherfuckers that have been tuning in and out and in and out, that's why you've been tuning in and out, because we're here to talk about Conor McGregor versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Now, right before we went on the air, and before I took me a nice little cat nap, I was watching the UFC 257 countdown. Something that really sticks out to me going into this fight between Conor and Dustin this time around is both guys really seem to be in a good place mentally. You're not hearing a lot of, well, I'm going to fuck Dustin up, or any of, Conor's antics. Now, Conor has proven that he can run his mouth and be able to back it up, but I think the most dangerous Conors that we see is the Conor when Conor is quiet and succinct and straight to the point. Like, look, man, I'm ready to go. I'm here to put on a show. Like, you saw the McGregor antics, but I feel like not to the same degree that we've been seeing them in prior fights. And in my opinion, that makes for the most dangerous Conor McGregor. On the other side, watching Dustin Poirier, as we've mentioned on the show before, I've been watching Dustin since he was on that Fightland special that was on Showtime, and working his way up through the amateurs and the regional scene in Louisiana. I mean,
Yeah.
Dustin Poirier, for those of you who don't know, long before he got to the UFC, I mean, this man's been putting work on the regional scene even before all the stuff that we saw here in the UFC. So a tale of two guys who have been hardened by their fights, and how I feel like now you're going to see the best versions of both guys. I feel like you've got two experienced guys that the lights of this whole thing don't scare either one of them. You know, Dustin is not going to be a guy who's going to come in here and he's going to be scared of the spotlight of fighting Conor McGregor. They've already fought once before. Dustin's coming in here and feels that he has something to prove. And, you know, now you've got, on the other end, you've got Conor, who again also feels like he's got something to prove, comes back with a big win over Donald Cerrone. I don't know, man. A lot of factors going into this fight. What are your guys' thoughts on our main event?
Go ahead, Corey.
Go ahead. All right. I'll leave. I don't know if you guys remember when we picked favorite fighters and favorite walkout songs and stuff like that. A couple, what was it, roughly about a month and a half ago, Kyle? We had that episode.
We did, and you can check it out in the archives. Make sure you smash that subscribe button and hit the like button on this video as well if you're watching in the feed.
Well, for those of you that did see it or have now went back and seen it, I self-admitted one of my favorite fighters, and honestly, probably my number one is Dustin the Diamond Poirier, man. Yeah. What he represents in and out of the octagon, the fact that he goes in and earns it, and he shows his grit, but he does it in an educated way. He hopes to not have to necessarily do that, but then is absolutely willing to. The fact that he steps up in his community, and just he always is like, as a dad of two daughters, the way that he represents being a dad, always, you know, wanting to be with his family, with his kids, and just trying to do what's right and be that guy. And it doesn't seem like any type of fake or, front of any sort. He just honestly seems like that's who he is. And it makes it so hard to not like the guy and everything that he does, and try to, be the guy that just is a fan. But this fight, it worries me, man. It really honestly does. Like you were saying, I hope we see the best version of each fighters. You missed that press conference earlier, Kyle, but he looked genuinely nervous, man. I know a couple people in the media have kind of already brought it up, but I'm hoping it's just like weight cut. It's the day before the weigh-ins. It's only a couple hours away type deal. I'm hoping it's just more him kind of being sucked out, so he's kind of in his mind type deal. But he didn't look like he was. I don't know if he was trying to tune it out to not let things get to him, or if he was letting things get to him so he looked like he wasn't there. I'm hoping it was the latter and not the. I'm hoping it's not that he's, letting it get to him again. I really hope that's the case, because he's my
I would like
fighter.
to think at this point, he's past the pre-fight jitters. Like Gino is saying in the comments, Dustin has nothing really to lose in this fight. He's already fought Conor in this one. I think there may be, there may be a sense of, okay, well, now I know his striking is dangerous. So yeah, maybe there might be a little bit of hesitancy, when the round starts. But again, as it was mentioned in the UFC countdown, it's been how many years since the first fight?
6 years. Yeah.
Both of them have progressed in this one. So I don't think you're going to be coming into a fight situation here where either guy really is going to be scared of the other. And here's the thing, even with all that being said, and even if you want to say that Conor maybe has, rented some space maybe in Dustin's head. Even with that being said, you also can't say that, Conor doesn't look like he understands the challenge that he has in front of him either.
Oh, absolutely. And like I said, I hope he's just not dwelling on that knockout, man. He is incredibly a different fighter since that time.
Yeah.
But he also has moments where he's slightly hittable. And if Conor touches that chin, especially within the first 3 minutes, it's really hard to take those shots. I really hope we get to see the fight that I'm hoping we get to see. I'm hoping that it just turns into be at least 3+ rounds, whether somebody gets a finish or not. But I'm just hoping it becomes a real war of a fight and a real back and forth, and not what Conor McGregor's saying of a 60-second knockout. Because it just, honestly, it concerns me, man. As a big fan and somebody that loves everything the man stands for, I would hate to see him go out like that. I really would. I mean, we've seen it happen to Cowboy. I'm a huge fan of Cowboy. It kind of almost felt like the same kind of buildup. Nothing, there was no bad words said. There was no you're a piece of shit. There's nothing like that. It was all handshakes and hugs until somebody got, knocked the hell out. And it wasn't Conor. And I want my, everything in my being is Dustin Poirier is going to pull it off. He's going to find a way. But if I'm betting my money, I feel like I would still have to put it on Conor. So
final picks, who is it going to be?
Dustin Poirier. Dustin the Diamond, my man is pulling it off.
How?
He's going to weather that early storm. He's going to get him slightly tired. He's going to land a couple of solid combos that I don't think Conor's going to be necessarily ready for. Catch him off guard and not necessarily put him out, but really, really weather him in a moment of him being gassed and not allow him to regain his stamina. He might come back. If, say, this is in the late 3rd round that this happens, he might come back in the early 4th round with some gas, but that tanks on, the gas lights on it still.
All right. Well, we're getting mixed signals here in the comments. We've got one pick from Gino says Conor. With that being said, Conor is winning it all. And then on the other side, we've got Jordan in the comments saying, this might bite me in the ass, but I think Dustin wins this time around. I've seen a lot of people saying Conor in the first round TKO, but again, I don't see that happening. This is going to be a war, and I think Dustin is going to win in the later rounds. All of you guys who are joining in, we're talking about the main event for UFC 257 and making our picks for the main event. Feel free to let us know who it is that you guys have got for the main event. Like I said, Corey has picked Dustin the Diamond. Gino has picked Conor McGregor. Jordan is picking Dustin Poirier. I'm going to throw it to you, Hyden, and then I will make our picks to close us out.
Yep.
Who do you got in the main event for this one? Is it going to be Dustin Diamond Poirier, or is it going to be Conor the Notorious McGregor?
So what Corey is saying is one of the fan favorite. He's actually a fan favorite of mine because me and my boys, and my podcast crew, we met Dustin personally. And I can tell you from the day that we met him and hung out with him, that was the day that Conor fought Nate Diaz the first time. So we were at B-Dubs, we hung out with him. Came and watched the fights with us too. So I've never rooted against the man personally. Since that time, obviously he's beaten 4, previous world champions in Eddie Alvarez, Gaethje, Pettis, you name it. He's beaten them all. So Holloway as well. So I think it obviously a way different fight than 6 years ago. I think people are leaning on something that happened 6 years ago way too much. You have to understand that he was a featherweight. He cut way too much weight. He wasn't at full strength. It drained him. He's bigger. He's stronger.
So is Conor, though, because remember, Conor was big for 45 too.
Right. But I'm saying I think a lot of people took too much stock into that. So even if Conor hits him with the the left hand or the right hand, I think Dustin can take it because I mean it's a bigger weight class, obviously. So it's not going to be easier to finish him in 60 seconds because I highly doubt that. But I think Dustin's way more improved, obviously been more active. I think he can weather the storm. And I think he'll get a late finish. I'm going to say fourth round TKO. I think he weathers the storm and hits him with a shot, or even possibly some takedowns. I wouldn't be surprised if takedowns were mentioned later in rounds, because Conor does have a tendency to gas in the later rounds. We've seen that before, so I think, I don't know if takedowns will happen, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I think he'll get a TKO. I'm going to say late fourth round. I think he'll weather the storm and get the job done.
All right, so far we've got Gino is the lone man on the totem pole going with the notorious Conor McGregor so far. Jordan in the comments says he's got Dustin Poirier. Corey says he's got Dustin Poirier, and now so does Hyden. Again, for all of you guys just joining the stream, we're talking about the main event for UFC 257. Feel free to let us know in the comments who it is that you guys have for the main event. Well, without any further ado, I guess it's time for me to make my pick for this Saturday for UFC 257.
The suspense is killing me, sir.
I mean, hey, I know there's a reason why people tune in, and it's really just to hear who the fuck it is that Kyle is going to pick. Hell, many would say maybe I'm picking Conor McGregor just by my color choice on tonight's stream, but part of that's, again, just because I needed a cat nap. Like I said, main event time. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think both of them I think both guys are coming in as the best versions of themselves in this one. I don't think this is going to be a fight where either one of these guys is going to be too surprised, I think, by what the other person does. I think what it's going to come down to is who can implement their game better on fight night. The question is Dustin Poirier going to allow himself to be in a huge stand-up battle with Conor McGregor, or is he going to try to take it to the ground? Me personally, I think if Dustin was smart, I think his best plan to victory is to use his striking enough for him to be able to take Conor down, or at least try to take Conor down, because we all know that Conor's best chance to win is on his feet. Going in this fight, though, I think Dustin's not going to be any type of slouch on the feet either. But man, I tell you, I'm a huge Dustin Poirier fan, but something in me tells me that Conor McGregor is coming back raring and ready to go on this one. I have to go against the grain on this one, and I think I'm rolling with Gino. I think Conor McGregor gets him a dub. I don't know that he finishes Dustin, but I think, you know what? Hell, I do think he's going to finish him. I'm going to say that he's going to finish him early fourth round stoppage.
Okay. Early fourth round. You think it makes it that? You think it makes it that far, and Conor still gets the stoppage?
Yep. Okay. Jordan's comment in here saying Dustin did say he's going to win any way necessary, so I wouldn't be shocked if he gets McGregor with a submission.
Let me ask real quick here, Kyle, with the Dana so-called announcement of KHABIB, whatever you want to call it. Do you think any of these four guys would interest KHABIB if he was to come back? And if so, who would you think?
Yeah, Conor.
Just Conor? That's it? You don't think anyone else
I think he likes any of those fights, but I think any chance that KHABIB gets to be able to fight Conor again, I think he'd be all over it.
Interesting.
But, I mean, to be honest with you, dude, I still don't think we're out of the woods on that GSP fight. I really don't. If KHABIB comes back, I really wouldn't be surprised if the first fight that he gets back is still going to be GSP, because, I mean, how do you not give KHABIB what he wants at this point?
Because the only way that fight happens is if it happens at 170 or if they open a new 165.
Okay, that's fine. But what's wrong with him doing? What's wrong with him doing a fight and then the winner of these guys getting the next title shot?
I think they should finally pull the damn trigger, move up the upper weight classes 5 pounds, so they reduce the margins in the weight classes, and then add a 165. I think it's time. I think what a better fight than fucking GSP and KHABIB to.
But here's the thing, though. Why can't you just run that? Why can't you run that fight though as just legend versus legend on this one?
Yeah,
man?
Legendary weight class.
Like, why can't that just be a fight for KHABIB, because that's what KHABIB wants, and then the winner of these two guys, ends up being the next title challenger, considering. Assuming that KHABIB if KHABIB gets a win against GSP and doesn't get beat in dominating fashion, but then that raises the other side of that question. What if they run that fight? If they run that fight and GSP gets a win, well, then what?
Right. Well, I did read something where GSP said that, the fight obviously excites him, but he said, he's older, he's got to get back into training camp, and there's a lot of things on his side that they
GSP's
have to
already
figure out.
training, dog.
Well, these are his words, my friend, not me. But that's what he said. So, I mean, he said there's a lot of things on his end they have to get on the same track of, and that depends on weight class too. Because they said, okay, we're gonna want you to go down 155, and he shed a lot of weight, and he looks like he could make 155, but how would he perform there?
I think they fight at
on it,
165. I think if
Yeah,
that
like
fight
I said,
happens, that
it
fight
would-
happens.
Either that or 170, I think. But either way, it would
it
have
would
to
be
be some catch weight.
It would be a dream if they could open that division up and do the whole flip flop that people have been asking for I feel like a couple years at this point. They have the guys, they have the broadness in the 170 and 155 division to fill it in. No problem.
I mean, GSP would be great, and that's probably my first or second favorite. I mean, I'd say my first, obviously. I think Kyle knows that, but I mean, I don't see it really happening. And even though I don't take Dana's word so seriously much, but he said it's not interest anymore. We've kind of gone through that, and I guess they just want to see what happens on Saturday with these four guys. If somebody, comes out and does something spectacular, if Conor doesn't do it, then Michael Chandler or Dustin might do something crazy, or Dan Hooker might do something crazy. Who knows? You know what I mean? So he said in the press conference, all these guys are, future challengers, and he could fight all three of them. Who knows? So, I mean, well, he's fighting one of them, but he could fight the rest of them. So who knows? I mean, we'll just have to see.
Personally, what I think ends up happening is I think Khabib doesn't end up fighting, at least not for a couple of years. I don't think the GSP fight ends up materializing. I think he ends up relinquishing his title because he's not going to fight because he's got Ramadan in the next couple months, so he's not fighting for sure, at least until the fall.
Yeah, which wouldn't be till May, but he would be able to fight prior to, but it just depends when, obviously. But
you've seen how long he takes between scheduled fights,
of course,
and when they happen. So in my eyes, that wouldn't be even if it was offered to him today, I don't think he would accept it before the start.
See, I don't think there's no way that Khabib's taking that long off. If he's gonna, no way, no way, because dude, the guy's in the prime of his career right now. The guy's in the prime of his career right now. He just dropped his title. If the guy's going to fight again, the last thing he's going to want to do, at least in my opinion, is going to be to want to take 2 years off and then go back and try to fight these guys. Because why would you not want to knock them all out now while you're still at the top of the game? He takes 2 years off and then comes back and tries to fight a guy like Conor McGregor. If Conor McGregor stays fighting, assuming that happens for the next 2 years, then what? To me, if I'm Khabib, there's fuck that. We're either going to fight or I'm staying out.
I completely disagree. I watched way too much freaking interview stuff and stuff, but the Conor fight actually doesn't interest him. He's made that noted many.
It doesn't have to even be the Conor fight. Whoever he fights, I'm just saying there's no way that he's going to be out 2 years.
The only fight that I could see possibly happening if he got another interesting win is Charles do Bronx. I feel like that's
the guy I was thinking of too.
That's the one fight I could see honestly happening just because of what he was able to do to Tony. And Khabib seemed genuinely interested to fight Justin Gaethje once Gaethje got that dominant performance over Tony. Because I feel like Khabib really respects what Tony was, but I feel like he views Tony kind of like I do, that he's just a little past his prime. In Tony's circumstance.
I think Charles is a lone wolf here and trying to figure out what to do with him. And I think if anyone,
if I'm Oliveira, I'm not fighting again until you give me a title shot.
That's what he said. They gave him Justin, and he said his manager supposedly he told his manager, he's like, I'm not going to fight nobody unless it's a title or the winner of Conor and Dustin, who's a higher name and can get me to the title. But he said, other than that, he's like, I'm not fighting nobody else. And I don't blame him. I
don't. In the sense of his win streak, right? But I do in the sense of this is, in my eyes, an unofficial lightweight tournament, and you can't you don't get bye weeks in the playoffs. There's no home field advantage. This isn't the NFL playoffs. Like, everybody's playing, man. You got to be in that bracket if you want to move forward. And I think that fight with Justin Gaethje was actually a perfect fight for him because of the fact he was the one that had the most recent loss to the former champ. If he was able to go in there and do a performance like Khabib was able to do, I think that really, if he could one up what Khabib was able to do, I think that would be one thing that would definitely interest Khabib in coming back.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it's Charles Oliveira would be a good 30 just because of his skill set and his elite level jiu-jitsu black belt. I mean, he doesn't care if he's taken down or he's on top. I mean, I would love to see that style matchup against Khabib.
I mean,
to see,
yeah,
against somebody else, so.
Well, he's got to be one of the most interesting matchups for Khabib, if nothing
Absolutely.
else. But we're talking about people going away. We're talking about people not fighting. One thing that's not going away is knockouts and 3 counts. Like I said, stay tuned. You'll have to stay tuned to all of our social media at KO3C Pod so you can see exactly who it is coming through. In the next couple of weeks, we're going to be bringing you the likes of Bobby Nasty Nash ahead of his second round welterweight tournament fight for XFC going down February 13th, excuse me, for XFC on NBC. Like I said, we're going to be headed back down to Texas. So we're going to have another one of those vlogs for that. And who knows, man, if you guys have been watching AEW, you might just see a familiar face real soon. So like I said, until next time and in the in-between time, all of you guys who are watching us in the live stream, we greatly appreciate you. And Jordan is the last comment we got of this show, saying he says that he could see Charles Oliveira being your 155-pound champ by the end of the year. We'll have to stay tuned and find out. You'll have to stay tuned to hear what the hell we think. So until next time and in the in-between time, we appreciate y'all. Peace. Thank you, Gino. Fuck your couch!